Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indieheads podcast. I am your host, Matty, aka Recon AG. On this week's podcast, we have
Jeremiah, aka West Point Dad 69.
Stefan. Stefan.
Stefan?
Oh, yeah. Stefan, aka Apotheosis 91.
Stefan?
And then AJ, the meme man himself.
Okay, so first, before we get into our what have we been listening to, we're gonna make a very quick announcement about the rebranding of the podcast. We are now going to be known as the Indieheads podcast instead of the r/Indieheads podcast.
Fuck Reddit.
No, Jeremiah. No. Okay. We've been doing this podcast. This is our 38th episode, I believe, which is just crazy to think about that we've been doing it for this long. And we decided now it's probably best that we kind of branch off from Reddit a little bit. We're still going to be posting things on the subreddit because we still are very involved in the community at
There's
Indieheads.
only one Indieheads.
There's one Indieheads, so it's not...
You don't really need the R.
And, we know, and I think if there's any subreddit that understands the bad reputation that Reddit has, it would be r/Indieheads. So hopefully you guys do understand why we're dropping the r/. And hopefully this will lead to, maybe better opportunities for us and, and whatnot. So, yeah.
Like getting paid for our services by Symbol. Symbol paid us so much money.
Oh yeah, they pay us. Yeah, I mean, again, I know we lied about
I'm making bank from this. I was able to buy a selfie stick. Actually, the selfie stick was a birthday present.
I mean, yeah, of course, I was able to buy Ex-Military on vinyl, the original version, thanks to the Symbol coming on and sponsoring us. Doing that 90-minute long ad.
Are we sponsored by Vinyl Me Please?
Are we? No, we are not.
Should be.
We need to. Let's contact them.
There's at least like a few people on the podcast who are part. I'm part of Vinyl Me Please.
Yeah, we should actually get those guys on. Moving on.
Okay. Anyway,
an extra record. I've been meaning to send it to Lucas, but I just haven't gotten the chance to.
We can email them and ask them if they want to do an interview or something.
Their forums are really populated, so we should.
Okay, let's get on to what we've been listening to this week. I'm going to start off. 2 albums. Dean Blunt, The Redeemer. So, I was doing my math homework the other day, and I was just like, I'm going to listen to Dean Blunt. Why? I don't know. I just typed in Dean Blunt, and then started listening to The Redeemer. And it's really fucking good. Basically, this album, it's a breakup album, and the emotions it kind of, has throughout is very, kind of the empty, depression, phase of a breakup, where you don't feel anything. You're just a vessel. Like, you're just going about your day, you don't care. You just want to get through your day. And that's just the way I would describe this album, is just empty. And that doesn't mean that it's, like, boring or, non-emotional, because, of course, like I said, being empty is still very much an emotion. And this album really does kind of, really encapsulates that feeling of a breakup, where it's just like, you just want to die. You're just a walking zombie. And of course, a lot of really, great lyrics. A lot of the instrumentation, well, not the production is really good. It's kind of a mixture of of strings and loops. Basically, it's sort of like maybe like a low budget Volnicura, and not as powerful and angry, but more or less just kind of like, it's basically if Björk, like, she just got done, like, she had that big angry explosion after her divorce and then just cooled down. It just was like, oh, okay, yeah. And I think I put the last song on this album on my, by the way, Playlist Thursday is back, which is hosted by Alex, aka Tatios and G. He was asking people in the chat, like, hey, does anyone want to do a Playlist Thursday? I'm like, oh yeah, I got some cooked up. And so yeah, we recently posted it, and it did really well. So thank you guys if you guys listened to the playlist, thank you. I put a song on this album at the end of it. By the way, the rest of the album is really great. The album cover is probably one of my favorite album covers of all time. It's just minimalistic, really simple. Drake is a copycat. He stole this from Dean Blunt. I mean, you can look at the similarities. I don't know if I remember this. Hold on, let me get the timestamp. Okay, if I remember this, whenever I'm doing the video editing, I will put the 2 covers, or the 2 little symbols back to back. You can see that Drake is a thief. He's a hack. So yeah, by the way, Dean Blunt, Redeemer, great album. It's a great breakup album. It's, it adds to the many catalogs of heartbreak and breakup albums that I consider my favorites. So yeah. Next, Drake X Future, What a Time to Be Alive.
Oh yes, indeed.
What a time. So of course, leading into this album, like I had no idea if it was even happening. Like there was, it was just rumors. It was like, is this happening? Is this not happening? It was supposed to drop tomorrow, but it didn't. But like, what's going on? It was just like there was all these rumors flying around. There's little tidbits here and there of like, okay, who started this rumor? Like, is this even happening? Like, credible people said that this is happening, but like we have no news of it. And then kind of like a few days before, it's like, it's happening, and it's gonna be dropped on iTunes first. It's like, what? Drake and Future, like. And here's the thing with this mixtape, I can't get like I like it, and I can't get too like excited about it because pretty much it's Drake and Future. They're cashing in, okay? Like they're in their primes right now. Like Future is at his most popular that he's ever been. But
absolutely.
With he has his great mixtape run, and then to top it off with DS2, which ended up being his highest selling album yet. Basically by staying with his original mixtape sound and not unlike Honest, which was basically just trying to like hip hop over to like all these different hip hop trends at the time. And then of course, and Drake is on top of the world. He has If You're Reading This Is Too Late, which I think is a great mixtape / album. Tons of great singles. Like Hotline Bling is my song of the summer. Jesus,
absolutely.
You used to call me on my cell phone. Dun, dun, dun. It's great.
It's I could rant about that song for a long time, but I won't.
Wait, rant as in you like it, or rant as in you hate it?
Rant as in why it's so good and its vaporwave influences. I mean, that song's incredible. Absolute song of the year contender. Absolute.
Yes, it's probably my favorite pop song of the year easily in the song of the summer, despite the fact that it came out kind of late in the summer. I don't give a shit. It's amazing. And then, of course, this mixtape, there is some definite bangers, okay? There's songs that fucking... Okay, I sound so fucking white, Jesus Christ.
They slap.
I was getting ready to say slap, but I was like, oh god, I'm going to sound so white. But yes, this mixtape is full of bangers. You got Big Rings, Diamonds Dancing. Hold on a second, I got to pull up iTunes.
Plastic Bag is a good one.
Plastic Bag.
It's not so much a banger, but it's a good-ass song.
Scholarships, I'm the Plug, Jumpman, and Digital Dash, which is a great intro. And I think my favorite song on the album is 30 for 30 Freestyle, which is the only Drake solo track on the album. And it's classic Drake. You have a great 40 produced beat. You have Drake kind of freestyling and kind of, talking about what's going on in his life. It's basically just another, diary entry. It's like, Dear Diary, I have a bunch of people trying to come after me, including Jay-Z. What a fuckboy. Is he mad that Beyonce want to fuck me or something? I don't know. See you guys later.
That was good. That's a good summary.
Okay, it's not as soft as that, but like but yeah, it's exactly what I want from Drake. It's like if Views from the Six is gonna be like this, I want Views from the Six like immediately. Like feed me. I know you gave us like 2 mixtapes already this year and tons of singles, but feed me. I want more.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I think on Twitter someone was saying that like Future won 2015. I'm like, no. I mean, I think
Drake definitely.
Future's had a great 2015, but like Drake is on top of the world. Like. Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, 2 mixtapes. If You're Reading This Is Too Late, which went platinum recently. The Drake X Future mixtape, which sold like 340k copies first week. You got the Meek Mill beef, which he just obliterated Meek Mill, which was completely unexpected.
Yeah.
It was like I knew like it was gonna be like even or like Meek was gonna kill him, but like Drake comes through and just destroys Meek. And here's the thing. That's so embarrassing about Meek. It is so easy to diss Drake. That should be the easiest thing in the world.
Absolutely.
There is so much shit on Drake that you could talk about, and yet he couldn't do it. I think Anthony Fantano said that like the reason why Drake won the beef was that Drake made better songs. As Meek Mill's song had good disses, but the song was just a complete mess and just sucked horribly. Just the production was bad. Meek Mill, you couldn't fucking understand what he was saying. He was like, he sounded like he was about to cry because he heard back to back and then started recording it. Yeah, he won the Meek Mill beef, and then of course he's had the Apple deal where he got paid $20 million for his radio show and a bunch of other like exclusive shit. And it's like, this man is on top of the world right now, and he is. Also, one last thing, unless AJ wants to say more about the Future X Drake mixtape. The Fader did a great cover story on Drake recently that you guys should all read. It's shit like that makes me want to be a music journalist, because it's like, wow, like the Fader is a top tier like publication. Like they produce nothing but like quality stories for the most part, at least in their cover stories, and also the photography is amazing. So do you have anything to say about what time of your life? AJ?
I mean, it's definitely just like as you were saying, it's a project I wasn't even sure existed, and then like when it came into its own, I was like, all right, I'm behind this for sure because Drake and Future are like two of the top right now. Future's been he won me over big time in 2015. Was not a Future fan at all. I was like an anti-Future hive, or in 2014.
I was generally neutral on Future, but I think the thing that did actually convince me, like, oh shit, I'm sleeping on Future, was actually it was him being sampled in Senorita by Vince Staples. I was like, is this what I'm missing out on? Damn, I'm missing out on a lot. And I think I listened to 56 Nights and some of Monster, and of course DS2, which I think is really good.
Yeah, I think DS2's is best. Like that's what won me over.
Kind of
end.
In the middle there's kind of a lull, but like those first 4 tracks on DS2 are like, holy shit.
Definitely.
I am on fire right now. Someone please extinguish me.
The thing is, people say like people have been using this as like, I mean, you look at like what Pitchfork and The Needle Drop both said about this mixtape is that it just kind of feels like Dirty Sprite 2 cutoffs or B tracks or something with a bunch of Drake features. And my question is that a bad thing? Like
I can't say it's a bad thing. I think in certain places the beats are really good. And then there's certain ones where I'm like, okay, yeah, these are definitely leftovers, and these are like.
Well, people are like, yeah, Drake just recorded some verses on like tracks Future had lying around. Why do we hold that against the mixtape? Like it's a mixtape that they made for fun, kind of, and tossed out there.
I mean, yeah, they made it in 6 days. It was just like to capitalize on both their hype. It was just like it made sense.
Yeah, we need more projects like this. Like Cloud Nothings and Waves did a really similar thing. They went into the studio for like a hot second together, recorded a thing, put it out. It kind of sucked, but hey, at least they did it.
It's just fun. It's just like, hey, we're on top of the world. Let's just celebrate.
Yeah,
and it's that. It's what a time to be alive for both of them because they're both in their primes right now.
Amen.
They make an interesting discussion point, actually. Like, how seriously do artists have to take their own projects, or like, is it possible now for people just to like have fun, throw a bunch of tracks out there, and for it to actually be like received
for Drake and Future to make a project like this right now? I think, yeah, they had all the reasons to, and like we shouldn't be like they needed to be more introspective and like make a more serious mixtape than this thing. But for the two of them, for right now, I think this is a great project.
I mean, it kind of sucks that like the thing is I didn't pay for it because I have my Apple Music subscription still, so shouts out to the 3-month free trial that they gave us. So I listened to it for free, and I really enjoyed it. But, like, thing is, it's like, you listen to it for, like, a week or two, and you go, okay, you maybe, like, take out Big Ring. Maybe you grab, like, a couple songs and put them in your playlist, and that's about it. It's just, like, I think either you said this in the chat, or someone says in the chat earlier that, like, Drake really understands modern culture, and kind of a throwaway culture we have, where we're just kind of, like, we want more, give us more. And Drake really understands that very well. And he's kind of, built himself a team that can kind of have both quality and quantity at the same time. Unlike an artist that his name starts with Y and
Oh, don't go there.
Never mind. Young Thug. I think Young Thug is quantity over quality.
Young Thug is a quality rapper.
Okay, Jeremiah, let me explain about Young Thug. I know
what you think about Young Thug.
Yeah, but maybe the people don't.
You've definitely gone on this. You've done this more times than you've hated on Doris.
Yes,
that's all I have to say.
Well, yeah, Doris came out in 2013. That's irrelevant now. This
Young Thug is new.
I'm saying that Young Thug has a lot of potential to be good. He needs a better ear for beats, and he needs to be basically it's like quality over quantity. Like
I agree about the beats. He needs to
work on his production. He needs to
rapping. See what happens when you put him on a good beat, like Good Times, and he's fucking great.
Oh my god, then it's the greatest song ever. Like, he compliments that song so well because the melody is just so it's just so colorful, and he's such a colorful rapper because he does all these crazy melodies and it works. So I agree with you. He actually does need better beats, but he's still really good, in my opinion.
Yes, I said he has tons of potential. He right now, as of now, he's wasting it, and hopefully with high tunes, like maybe he meets that potential, but he's got to ditch London on the track. He's got to work more with Metro Boomin. He's got to work more with London, Wonder Girl. Hell, more Jamie XX for all I care. I think that's probably the best song he's ever done. More.
I think Madlib would be cool.
Madlib would be cool. Basically, anyone who's not a generic trap producer, just stay away from them, please. For the love of God, young thug. Okay, anyways, what'd you listen to, Jeremiah?
Well, yesterday was a very big. Yesterday being Friday the 25th was a huge day for releases. Right, we got Traverches, Kurt Vile, I think Youth Lagoon. There's a lot of people. But my two favorites, there's a lot of stuff. But my two favorites, or some of the ones that haven't been getting the most discussion, are Julia Holter's "Have You in My Wilderness" and then U.S. Girls' Half Free. Those are definitely my two favorite albums that came out yesterday. And they're both so good. They're both So Julia Holter's a singer-songwriter. This is, I think, her third LP. It's my first one of her. It's really, really gorgeous. It's pretty beautiful. She's got a great voice, really solid voice. Her lyrics are good. And she does these cool things with atmosphere, and there's some like Caribbean influences. But it's not like Caribbean influences that you're like, wow, this is dumb. It's like Caribbean, like, ooh, vibing. And just there are songs on it that are it's just a really, really great listen. And I've only listened to it like 4 times, which is definitely not enough to really unpack a lot of things that are going on in this album. But it's a great record. Everyone should give it a listen. Definitely like one of my favorites of the year. One of my favorites of the year so far. Definitely one of my favorites from yesterday. And then my other one is Half Free by U.S. Girls, which this record is, wow. This is an amazing album. Like, it's really heavy. Like, it's a pop album, and it's like this, it's like kind of like a poppy, kind of like half poppy album. You know what I'm talking about? Like, that kind. It's nice. It sounds really cool, but when you listen to what she's talking about, and the album cover and the name, it's like, this is some really heavy stuff. It's about like...
Do you guys hear my dad?
No.
Yeah.
But
I think he's watching football.
Oh.
Sorry about that, guys.
But it's about like abusive relationships, like rape, like just women being put down. Like the women in these songs are just like put down by various things. And there's there's a line in the first song which is like, "I'll hang myself from my family tree." Like, it's fucking... Woo! I mean, and the production is excellent. The songs, they go through a lot of different styles. There's this kind of new, like, slow burner that goes directly into this like distorted guitar pop song. It's just really, really great record. I highly recommend it for everyone. It's very, very interesting musically, and it's just like really like, wow, this is like, I'm really feeling this. But then you look deeper, and it's like hits you in the face. And it also has easily my favorite album cover of the year. Like, look it up, podcast people. While you're listening to this, look it up right now.
I've listened to this album. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Oh my god, the album is fucking real. So yeah, that's definitely, these are two of my favorite albums of the year so far. Really fucking good. Whew. And then I lumped those two together because I've only listened to them a few times, so I don't have that much to talk about. But Fiona Apple's "The Either Wheel" is wiser than the Either Wheel. I've listened to that one a lot lately. It's just such a great record. Just solid. Fiona Apple's really cool. She makes really cool music with her rhythms and her piano and I'm too high, I don't know. It's like jazzy, and you're like, oh. And it's good. It's just good. I enjoyed it a lot. So that's all I got to say.
All right.
Well,
all right. Okay. I will cover my stuff, and I guess I'll start with my favorite release from yesterday, September 25th, 2015. A big day for releases, might go down in history. And that that would, of course, be the new "The World is a Beautiful Place" and "I Am No Longer Afraid to Die" album, Harmlessness. These guys are kind of like a cute little indie band. That's the description I'm going to go for them. And their previous album, like Whenever If Ever, was huge in the indie world. I don't know how tuned into like the indie circle you got, or indie emo, sorry, the emo circle that you guys are. But this was like a big album for anyone who like listens to emo music a lot. It was just, widely acclaimed. Everyone loved it. It was great, and people were like, can't wait to see what these guys do next. Then they dropped this thing called Between Bodies, which was like a spoken word poetry EP, and it was not good. It was really embarrassing, and we were like, you know, this is like an American football situation where they put out this really good album and then they're going to be done. And the band went through a lot of really weird lineup changes. They just rotate people out all the time, different instrumentalists, different vocalists. The whole lineup changed pretty much for this album, Harmlessness. And I think it's better than Whenever, If Ever by a pretty wide margin. I really dug this album. Classic emo, you know, the lyrics on here are super, super sad. Lots of talk about feelings and about like contemplating suicide, stuff like that. And lots of great narrative tracks, songs that still tell stories. So like the track January 10th, 2014 is about this Mexican woman who like rides buses and then kills the bus drivers because a lot of women like get raped on buses in Mexico, and they like incorporate that actual news story into the lyrics of this song, and it's really incredible. Haircuts for Everybody is a song that I cry every time I listen to it. It's one of those just super sad, great vocals. I have a weak spot in my heart for when you put male and female vocals on the same track, and that's all over this thing. Incredible emo album, and I would say it's got enough of like an indie rock, post rock kind of vibe to it that shouldn't scare you off if you hear the word emo and just cringe, because a lot of times people have a bad emo gets a bad rap, and understandably so, because a lot of times it's guys with you know, really whiny voices and really over the top lyrics. But this one's, you know, handled with class, and it's a great album that toes the line between emo and indie post rock really, really well. Harmlessness. Give it a listen. The second album I've been listening to quite a lot. I'm assuming you guys haven't listened to that. You guys Harmlessness at all?
Nope.
I have not.
Has anyone heard of the first album, Whenever If Ever?
No, I'm not, because I'm not an emo shit lord.
There you go. You can check that one out too.
I want to say on the note of what you said about emo, I think a lot of people conflate like emo with the wave of like shitty post-hardcore.
Like crunkcore, yeah.
Yeah.
People think emo and they think like crunkcore, like Blood on the Dance Floor and shit like that. But there are good emo bands out there, you guys. Just give emo a chance. If you listen if you
to
take
American football.
If you take one thing from this podcast, give emo a chance. Wow. Okay. The second album I'm going to talk about is Volcano Choir's Repave, which just might be, in my humble opinion, one of the most slept on albums in a very long time. This album got slept on hard, you guys, and there's no way around it. Volcano Choir being Justin Vernon's, I'm doing air quotes here that no one can see, other band, Justin Vernon of Bon Iver. And Volcano Choir had that first album that everyone knows is the album that had the Woods song on it from Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, of course. And then when people found out, they were like, whoa, hey, this was a song before that? Oh, Bon Iver? Anyway, I'm a big Bon Iver fan. And I have to say that I think Volcano Choir's Repave is my favorite Justin Vernon like album that he's ever put out. More so than For Emma, and more so than the self-titled, which I prefer to For Emma anyway. But this thing is completely different from both of those albums, where For Emma was like a folky singer-songwriter, I'm locked in a cabin for a weekend type thing, lots of acoustic guitar. And then the second album was, you know, nearly like way more electronic on that thing and tons of orchestration. This one's more straightforward rock. I mean, you can clearly identify like the harder guitars, the drums, and the orchestration in this thing. It's got a lot of influences from post-rock, but the thing about this one is that Justin Vernon wasn't as integral in the instrumentation, the arrangements on this one. He like pretty much just came in and wrote the lyrics, did the vocals for it, and he kind of took a step back because I think it really helped out on this album. The lyrics stick out way more. They're not as like esoteric and just kind of wacky. Sometimes the lyrics, especially on the first Volcano Choir album, were a little cringeworthy, and Justin Vernon's lyrics are all over the place, you know, weird metaphors, all that kind of stuff. But this one, they're like very straightforward. He just kind of outright talks about what he's feeling, when he's feeling it, and there's lots of like actual concrete references to like things that he's doing instead of coming up with some flowery metaphor for it, working his way around it, which is great and fits on those records perfectly. But this one's just way more straightforward, talking about what kind of shit he's going through and how he's doing it. The instrumentation's beautiful, and the album art is awesome.
Nice. I think I did listen to this like a couple years ago, probably like somewhere in like 2013 when I was kind of getting into like music very heavily. I think a friend recommended me to listen to this, and I again, it's been like 2 years though, so I can't say a whole lot because I listened to it like once or twice. I was like, okay, this is decent. Like I still haven't really heavily gotten to Bon Iver just yet.
It got the most insulting Pitchfork score, which is like the range of high 7s to low 8s. Not best new music, though. The kind of score that just goes away.
7.8.
Yep, they got a 7.8 on Pitchfork, which is just kind of like, it's a good album, but we're not, it's not a great album.
No, those ones are the ones where it's like, yeah, it's good, but we don't really care.
There you go. Yeah.
An 8, I feel like an 8 is actually the best score Pitchfork can give. Like see an 8, you see an album that gets an 8, you know it's fucking good. Like Hummingbird by Local Natives.
I see an album that gets there are albums that get best new music, and I'm just like, okay. But then there's an album like that gets like an 8.0 or an 8.1, and I'm like, this thing is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Because the Pitchfork politics that we won't get into here. But if you're a Bon Iver fan, check out.
A silly place.
If you're a Bon Iver fan, check out Repave by Volcano Choir. I think you will like it.
All right, Stefan.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pretend like I haven't just been listening to New Bermuda since Wednesday and nothing else.
You can say something about it, man. I mean, we're gonna do an album discussion on it eventually.
Oh yeah, also New Bermuda fucking rocks. It fucking rocks.
It does so fucking rock.
It's really good.
I don't know if I'm gonna be. I may skip out on that one. I need to listen to it first to decide that. But like, if there's any like album discussion, I'm like, okay, I'll probably skip out on this one. It'll probably be that one, just because I'm very unfamiliar with metal music. Me going into it, I'm just going to leave this brief because then we're going to talk about it later, but I've listened to Sunbather a few times. It's like, Sunbather's like, ooh, this is so pretty. Wow. It's like, oh! And you're like, yep. That's like my relationship with Sunbather. It just seems like the vocals are like, okay, this is going to be too much.
It's like, this is pretty, and then it's a, yeah. That's just like that's how I deal with it. So I'm not like I'm trying to get Sunbather. I haven't gotten it yet. I don't doubt that it's an amazing album, but I'm just not there with it yet. And so I was going into New Bermuda like, all right, I'll give this a shot. And I actually enjoyed it a lot more than Sunbather on my first listen. Because I guess the vocals are pretty different, I feel like. There's a lot more like Sunbather, like it's like,
okay, I'm going to say this because someone's going to probably say it. Why do you like death grips though, Matty? All he does is scream. It's a little different, okay?
I want to say, actually, on the note of people saying death grips is just a guy screaming, like, MC Wright is one of the most underrated lyricists of the decade.
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, I will go on for days about how he's such a great vocalist and lyricist, especially Redacted on the Moon, which is just like, what the fuck is this? Just, he's understated in his vocals where he's not screaming as much. He's more kind of, has a sort of calm considering past MC Ride vocal performances. Where he's more sort of understated, he's kind of speaking kind of normally. It's like, but he's also just like spitting out this extremely cryptic shit, and it's like I know this isn't just completely random. This means something. I gotta figure out what it is though. So yeah.
So just because Death Grips and Death Heaven share the first 3 letters does not mean that we can just go off about Death Grips during a Death Heaven conversation.
Well, again, you're just talking about I'm just talking about people. With
anyways,
vocals. Okay, never mind. Fuck you, Jeremy.
So
keep going. Fucking no! This is not even yours. Let Stefan speak.
No, but I was just okay, fine. Well, is this even part of his? Is this even on the thing? All right.
This was like I want to talk about. Like,
as a non-metal listener, I enjoyed this one more than Sunbather, just because it seemed the vocals were much more like in tune with the music, and also I don't know. I really enjoyed New Bermuda. I wasn't expecting to, but I did.
Yeah, it's really good. Anyways,
very good.
So first album I listened to this week is one of the weirder albums I've come across all year, which is Elysia Crampton's American Drift, and she's a transgendered Bolivian American producer who made this album in like rural Virginia or something, and I can't say I exactly know what this album means, but like if you go on her Twitter feed and look at interviews with her, there is so much like this weird like intersectionality and queer theory and gender theory and all this crazy stuff like informing this album, which for the most part just consists of a mixture of these very like artificial synthetic thin tones, but then also these kind of weird like found sound samples, and the result is surprisingly kind of like stirring, even though it's all very, very strange, and it's definitely one of the more interesting projects I've heard all year. I mean, it basically, I can't name another album this year that took like a canned sample of like Mexican MIDI horns and a sample of Little John going yeah and made that like beautiful. So if you're looking for some electronic music that makes Arca look straightforward, definitely get into this album.
Oh shit, I will probably enjoy that then. If it makes
Yeah.
Arca sound straightforward, it's gonna be like, oh shit, this is gonna be real fucking interesting.
And
Because I love
the problem
Arca,
with
and
the
I think
Arca-
he's so fucking weird, but I love him because of that.
Well, the thing is, it's not like as spastic or anything as Arca's album Zen was, or like, yeah, it's not really like that. It goes actually. I don't think this is an album anyone doing the podcast right now has heard, but last year Fatima Al Qadiri's Asia Tish. There we go. Weird album title. It kind of delved into that realm too of using these purposefully like fake, hollow, tinny sounds to kind of make some sort of commentary about just synthesis, I guess. But it's a very strange and thought provoking listen, and it's definitely one of the better things I've come across this year. And then my second album is Deerhunter's Weird Era. Is it Weird Era Kant or Weird Era Continued?
I just say Weird Era Kant, but
Yeah,
it's
Weird
tense.
Era Kant.
Be very careful in the pronunciation of that.
Yeah, Matty's
Yeah.
drawn some flack for that word.
Yeah, I know. We talked about it in private.
I was not part of this conversation.
Okay, please keep going before this gets very awkward and personal.
Let's do that. We'll save it for a late one. But anyways, yeah, all summer I was looking for an album that just like I wanted an album so badly that just had these big washy shoegaze sounds with like these very tight rock structures, and Weird Era Kant is exactly that. And it just I've not immediately liked a Deerhunter project as much as this one. It is just I like everything about it, and I don't know. It's a very singular project for me. Like it's all one kind of blur, and so it's hard to kind of dissect at this stage. But Bradford's vocals and the sounds and the song structures, just everything about it really, really resonates with me, and I think I'm definitely going to be coming back to it a lot in the future.
Can I make an Indieheads confession on here?
Yes.
Yep.
I don't think I get Deerhunter.
Have you? What have you listened to?
All of it.
I mean, just listen to Halcyon Digest a bunch. I didn't really get Halcyon Digest until I learned who Bradford Cox was.
I know who
didn't-
Bradford Cox is, and I actually really like Atlas Sound, his other
Oh, you
project.
just don't get Deerhunter.
I just don't think I get the acclaim maybe for Deer. Maybe it's
I
my
think
own
just-
fault.
Just give Halcyon Digest a bunch of listens.
Well,
I'm
that was
gonna
my problem with, or that was my problem with Halcyon Digest. Is like I found out about it because Pitchfork put it at number 3 of the decade, and I was like, sure. And so I kind of had that expectation going in, and it took me a long time really to warm up to that record. And I do like it a lot now, but I think that definitely plays a role in it.
I haven't listened. Hold on, can I say something real quick about Deerhunter? I haven't listened. I only listened. The only song by them that I've listened to in full has been Snakeskin, and I really enjoy Snakeskin. I think it's a great song. I think their new album apparently is really good. I tried to listen to Halcyon Digest the other day, but like I think I had to listen to something else. I had to listen to Poison Season for this podcast, and it was just like it was like electronic production, but like kind of stuff that I would hear in a hip hop beat, and I'm like, the hell is this?
I don't.
The intro track to Halcyon Digest.
Oh yeah, Earthquake. It's like.
It was like, this sounds like this is
Yeah.
stuff I would hear on like a Young Thug.
All right, so you definitely did not give it.
I know I didn't listen to the song in full. I think I said I had to listen to something else, or I had to do something else, so I didn't get a chance to like finish the song or get a chance to listen to the album. But that's all I have to say. Should we get to the main topic?
Well, I actually wanted to say one quick thing about Weird Era. I only ever listened to Microcastle and Weird Era at the same time. I consider it a double album. I might be one of the only people who do that. Like, I always ask people if they listen to one album at a time, or if I consider them both to be just like double album. So I have to listen to them back to back, which means I don't really get them as much time as I like to listen to both of them. And it also means that they're kind of blurred into one for me. But I agree with you that Weird Era and Microcastle, gorgeous. Weird Era is definitely a little bit more far out, but yeah, just Deerhunter's such an amazing band. Breaker, it's called Breaker, not Breakers. Breakers is by Local Natives, but Breaker, the song the new one that just came out, is amazing. That's definitely one of my favorites of the year so far. So I'm excited for their new one. Deerhunter's great.
All right.
Love
Let's see, Jeremiah.
Moving on to the main topic. Da-da-da! Poison Season by Destroyer album discussion. Woo! So, Destroyer is the project of singer-songwriter Dan Behar. He's from Vancouver. You may know him from such acts as not Dirty Projectors. Jesus, no. The New Pornographers. I always get them confused. I don't know why. I would just like say one and I mean the other. New Pornographers. Swan Lake. But mostly Destroyer. He's a singer-songwriter, amazingly talented, makes some he's a very strange lyricist, very free-flowing, very poetic, very just unorthodox delivery with his lyrics, and each album brings something new to the fold. It brings something else. There's some weird noises, maybe there's like a new band behind it, maybe it's like a full backing band, maybe there's a flute solo. You never know what you're going to get with Destroyer. So, this is his 10th album. It's his first since Kaput, which was in 2011. So this is his first album in 4 years. And so the wait was long and arduous. Destroyer fans had to listen to Burl Bruisers by the New Pornographers or just simply revisit his massive catalog. But we finally got Poison Season, and it is fucking dope.
Hell
right?
yeah.
Hell yeah. Fucking amazing. Definitely one of my favorites of the year. And so we're going to talk about it here. So the first thing we're going to talk about, it's going to get pretty generic at first. What are your guys' favorite songs from the album?
Okay, I have my notes. I actually wrote notes this time around for an album discussion, which is the first time I think I've ever done that. Maybe one time before, but I don't remember. My favorite song on here is definitely Forces from Above. It's like almost 6 minutes long. The instrumentation is epic. And his vocals work really well. It's like, I got paid and then I wrote a song. It's like, it's a perfect combination of like everything that I like about this album. You have the grand and beautiful instrumentation. You have Dan Behar's voice, which is very unique and works perfectly well on this fine instrumentation. The lyrics are very kind of snarky and also work really well. And yeah, my favorite track is Forces from Above. It's epic and amazing.
Forces from Above I actually think this track is really interesting for me because I actually think it's the most classically Destroyer song on this album. And I'm gonna get to that more later, but I definitely agree. This is definitely one of my favorites from the record. But it's like, it's very free flowing. It's very kind of open, and he just kind of rambles. He's just Forces from above. Wish you were here. We think the world of you, and he just kind of like goes on. He's just there. He's just having a good time. Which is something that like we actually don't really see on the rest of the record. And I'm gonna get to that more later. I realize I shouldn't really have interrupted, but
it's fine. I didn't have much to say. I think you kind of helped out a lot more. So
also, those fucking bongos. Those fucking bongos. Can we take a minute to appreciate those fucking bongos?
Moment of silence.
Shout out to all the bongos.
Whoop, whoop.
Damn.
All right. My favorite songs are. I just have a list, and it's a long one. It's obviously the whole Times Square series, all 3 of those tracks, fantastic. I love how he just reworked it, 3 times on the album. Dream Lover, boom, classic Springsteen sound. Jesus Christ, I was like, what the fuck is this? I am on board. Forces from Above, another great song. Midnight Meets the Rain, I really dug. Same with Solace's Bride. Those are 2, I think, underrated tracks on here, or that I don't see get discussed enough.
Okay, can I say something about Midnights? I think Midnights, I like it for the most part, except for like one 10-second segment where I'm like, no. I think it's from like 114 to 124. He's like, fuck, let me find the lyrics real quick for it. You guys keep talking, I'll find
Midnight Meets the Rain.
I love the way it starts. The way it starts is amazing. Because it comes right off of Archer on the Beach. And so it's like, Archer on the Beach is definitely like a slow burner. And then it's like, you make a plea for me to come to my senses, just like the time before that. I smell a symphony and I smell a rat. Well, midnight meets the rain.
Okay, I know the part.
Like, woo!
It's like the part where it's like, and I've got no interest in getting dressed today to go outside and play a game you know so well. I didn't.
I love that.
Part was just like, okay,
That's a vintage Destroyer moment. That is vintage Destroyer line.
Like, I didn't enjoy that. I was like, you're kind of just messed up the song for me.
if you listen to more of his old, if you listen, especially Rubies, that's a very Rubies moment. It's like where he just kind of like the music kind of tails off, and he's just like, "I'm just saying things," and you're like, "Did you have that written down, or did you just come up with that on the spot? You don't know." And it's really cool. And then the music then just bonk, just hits you right in the face again. So I actually really enjoy that moment. I think it's a good part because it's really it's very vintage Destroyer.
AJ, you want to continue?
And then just Bangkok.
Bangkok, yeah, that's also one of my favorites. I think that'd be my top 3.
Song of the year.
I mean,
And
the
by
lyrics.
song, like it's one of like the 10 songs of the year on this album.
The lyrics. The
Everyone
lyrics.
has
all
trouble
over the
ranking
whole
things. That's one thing that I've learned from him after knowing him for like 9 months now. He can't rank things still.
Can't.
Hey, every song can be song of the year.
Oh yeah,
I
This is
disagree,
one of those
but
albums.
okay.
There's some albums where that's the case, and this is one of them. That's for sure.
Okay. Well, again, we'll get into that. I mean, I don't want to get into least favorite tracks. I know you just like talking about stuff that we hate, but like, I did have my least favorite songs written down. I don't like.
Talk about them.
Okay, I just get the hating comments out of the way.
Don't say Dream Lover. Don't say it.
No, Dream Lover's
it's-
great. Do not worry. I love that
Okay.
song. Do not worry. I didn't really like Hell is an Open Door because this album, of course, if you guys don't already know, this is like it sounds like kind of very like a musical at times, where it's very inspired, kind of like Broadway and stuff like that. Like, would you guys agree?
Down here, it's hell down
I didn't
here.
like because it felt too much. It felt too musically for me. It's like okay, this is like a little too corny, a little too cheesy. Like
It's a very theatrical album.
yeah,
that's for sure.
theatrical. It was like okay, this is a little too much like a musical. Back off. I'm fine with the theatrics, but like when you get more into musical territory where it's like really corny and cheesy, I think Girl in a Sling. So yeah, also kind of gets in that territory, but like not as bad as Hell, because Hell does that like okay, you can just stop Dan Behar, please stop this man. He's getting too far. I think at times the sound feels like he wrote like a Broadway screenplay or something, and then they're like no, and he just adapted it into an album, which is not a bad thing.
That's
but,
on a-
But this sounds like a
sorry.
musical adapted into an album, in a good way.
That's actually one of the things I really love about this album is like every song feels like the best scene of a movie. Like everything is so cinematic and immediate and like really
yeah.
striking, and I love this album feels like it has to exist.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I already
And,
mentioned the Girl in a Sling, and I also mentioned the part of Midnight Meet the Rain that I didn't like.
I really liked
though,
that.
I liked everything else pretty much. Let's see, Jeremiah do okay. So let's see. I think I'll just take over for Jeremiah since I don't know what the hell he's doing.
I really like Girl in a Sling, and I also don't really like. I really like Hell too. Especially I like the part in Hell where it's like it starts out slow and then just things just start coming, and you're like, ooh. But Girl in a Sling I think is really cool because I think it's one of the most orchestral tracks on this album. Probably the most orchestral.
I think maybe it was just a little too slow. It was like, okay, it's like
But
I know what you're going through.
It plays a very important role in the album. But the lyrics are solid as always. It's just pretty cool. With the whole, and I just love the girl. I know what you're going through. I'm going there too, which normally would be like a gross and angsty and like ew, like go away person. But because he's like 40, you're like, huh. And he does have a daughter, and she's like 12. So it's like, maybe is this song about his daughter? You know, it's an interesting song. And it's also like hella relatable, angst-wise. Anyways. But what's cool about Girl in a Sling is that River kind of ends like with like some like jazzy stuff. And then Girl in a Sling is definitely very orchestral. Like, I'm not calling it an interlude because it's not an interlude. It's definitely a standalone song. But it segs so well into Times Square, which is definitely the centerpiece on the album.
I think you're saying it's kind of like an interlude because it's one of the shorter tracks on the album. It's also sort of kind of like slow and kind of very. It feels very transitional.
It builds into Times Square. I'm not saying that the song is bad. It's definitely a great song.
Oh no,
but
I personally don't like it a whole lot, but like I know why you would like it. Why people would like it, obviously. Same with Hell.
I think it's a strong song, and I like Hell too. It's hell down here. It's hell down here.
I wanted to bring that up because that Hell, it really was like I got flashbacks to like Random Access Memories, the song Touch featuring Paul Williams. I was like, this guy somes like Paul Williams. He sounds very influenced by Paul Williams, even though I've only listened to one Paul Williams song.
How it breaks into like a New Orleans like dirge,
Sounds like this guy could write for the Muppets. Honestly, I think the song it was written for the Muppets, and then it's like no. That was a really bad joke. I apologize. Please keep going.
155, where it's just like, and it just comes in. Anyway, whose turn was it to talk about their favorite tracks? Was it my turn?
Is it your? I think it's Stefan hasn't gone yet.
Yes. Stefan's turn.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'll go. Favorite track, just Sun in the Sky. Oh, those horns and the chorus. It's all that song. I just love so much. And I'll advocate one of, I think, the more underrated songs on the album, which is Archer on the Beach, which is, that song is so, like, just groovy and interesting musically. And I love his poetry on there. I think the lyrics shine out on that song more than anything else for me, and his delivery of just that,
Bombs go off in your eyes. I'm so much deeper than the damage. Everything comes, oh my God. Yeah.
Well, that too, but like in Archer on the Beach, just that intro.
Oh, you were talking about Archer on the Beach?
Oh yeah, I might have liked
Sun
that
in the
there.
Sky. I was so confused. My bad. I'm a terrible person. Archer on the Beach is great too.
Archer on the Beach is great, and I love that opening of just like, careful now, watch your step in, you go. Like, I think that's such a powerful and effective line of poetry. I'll just see like Lucas or something analyze his poetics on this album, because I think they're so well done. And that, like, Archer on the Beach, especially its imagery, is like a real standout for me because of that.
So Jeremy, what are your favorite tracks besides all of them?
Okay, besides all of them, I'm gonna narrow it down to two.
We have to make sure my rankings. This is gonna be interesting.
So these are just two of the ones that we haven't talked about really yet. We kind of talked on Dream Lover, but Dream Lover.
We need to talk on Dream Lover more.
Dream Lover, I know.
Someone's idea of fun. Me, for some
How good was my Destroyer impression?
Lovers on the run.
Best, I'm gonna say something. Best use of horns since Midnight City, without a doubt. Whew.
Something about
the saxophone. I was like, what?
Oh, that's shit, dude. I am drunk.
That's okay. I was like,
AJ got day drunk today.
Oh,
Listen up now.
Anyways,
do we want to do a Lover? I'm sorry. We'll talk
100% one of my favorite songs of the year. Just this song just puts a huge geeky smile on my face. Like, I can't take it. Like, I just hear the song and I just want to get up and just like run, just want to drive really fast, just get this huge smile on my face. And the horns, it's just there's so much going on. It's so impactful, just so visceral, just like boom, right in the fucking like, just right there. And just
I want to.
Oh shit! Here comes the sun. Like that part right there, just and I just like kills me. And it's just so, like, it's just the lyrics are amazing, and it's just like so nice, and it's so catchy, and it's so much fun, and I just grin my ass off whenever I hear it. Definitely one of my favorites of the year. Definitely one of my favorites on the album. And it's actually one of the songs this is one of the like the fast songs, one of the three like impactful fast songs, and it's not something that you really hear on Destroyer usually, and it's just really refreshing. It's just like, wow. Like, especially after the Times Square intro, it just like, boom, right in the face. Anyways, my other favorite song, I think we already talked about it a little bit, was Bangkok.
Yes.
Bangkok is just, oh my gosh. Especially at the end. The end when the horns come in, and it's just, that part just killed. It's just so good. It's just so nice. You know? It's like I can't... Whew! Destroyer. Okay. Next part. What do you guys think? What are you guys' favorite lyrics from this album? Because obviously Dan Behar is famous for his lyrics. He's famous for being a poet and a scholar and just writing some wild things. And what do you guys think about his lyrics on this one? So this one's got some great lyrics, but not quite as many, like, he doesn't have quite as many lyrics as some of his other albums. So, like, these ones are definitely paying special attention to the ones he says on this one. So what do you guys think?
I didn't write any lyrics down in my notes, so I can't say.
Good.
So someone else, please go.
I listened to this album enough to like have most of it memorized, so I'll give a few. I already mentioned Archer on the Beach. That whole poem I just think is really great. The The ending of Bangkok too, that little refrain he does is so it took me a while to warm up to Bangkok as a song, but now that I'm there, it's like that definitely yeah, that song I understand what Jeremiah is saying. It's hard to talk about. Like the only thing I can give to talk about Destroyer songs with is sound effects. Like this is an album that can only be described with like emojis.
Hold on, I have a favorite lyric. Sorry, Stefan, to interrupt you. I think
No, go ahead.
I already said it earlier. It's like I got paid and then I wrote a song. I just like the meta-ness of that. It's just upfront and honest. Like, yeah, I got paid and I wrote a song. Yeah, I do like them. It's kind of like a Sun Kill Moon song.
What's also good about that line is that it harkens back to Kaput. On Kaput, at least there's 2 songs where he says, "I wrote a song for America and they told me it was clever," and so that's kind of like it's a very meta. He can be very meta. And
it's a fourth wall break. It's like
it throws you back to Kaput because Kaput was his commercial breakthrough. And it's like I got paid and then I wrote a song. Like here I and it also kind of flips the thing around a little bit. Because normally it's like you write a song and then you get paid, but this time it's like he got paid for Kaput and now he can write Poison Season. So it's kind of cool. I don't know. Make of that what you will.
All right, back to Stefan with your favorite lyrics. Sorry about the head interruption.
Oh yeah, sure. One other one I really love. I don't remember exactly what it is. I should look it up. I don't even remember what song it is, but just yeah, like one of those moments where the instrumentation fades out, and I think the line is something like, you know, every time I look into your eye, an angel flies by, and then like the strings come in, and that's one of those like really just like great gut punch moments.
Hold on a second. I feel like I think I know what song is that. Sun in the Sky.
No, it's one of the early ones on the album.
Okay, it's not Dream Lover because it's not.
No, it's a slow one.
Is it the River maybe?
I think it's the River.
Maybe
because I don't remember. I didn't put the River on my least favorite or my favorite tracks. I just don't remember that song.
Yeah, I don't really remember that song either, but that line really stands out for me.
Okay, AJ.
I don't have any like specific lyrics that I like. I mean, Bangkok's got some great lines on there. I think the chorus is funny as hell. But, I mean, just overall, the lyrics are, like, super poetic and cinematic, as we've touched on already. And I think the lyrics, to me, like, made every track stand out, like, way more than just musically. Like, I would want to revisit a track for the chorus, for, like, what he's saying on the chorus. I mean, he's a funny-ass guy. That's all I have to say, really.
Jeremiah, I know you got this shit written down. Like, I know you got this shit remembered.
Oh, my God.
You're the one that talked about the sound for, like, a month at least.
So, my favorite thing about Destroyer has always been his lyric, but like, what I love most about Destroyer's lyrics isn't the fact that like some singer-songwriters they like invite you to just like they're very like so Father John Misty for example, you listen to his stuff, he tells you something, you register it, and it's just very like I don't want to say straightforward because that like might sound like it's demeaning FJM's writing. It's not. It's very good, very great writing, but he's very straightforward. You pick it up, you understand it. It makes sense. It's very straightforward. It's like you can get your mind around it. Maybe you can do a little bit more research to get it better, but it's like, oh, that makes sense. With Destroyer, what's so great about him is how so fucking apeshit and all over the place he is. Like, so that's one thing that's characteristic of his other albums is that like most of his lines sound like they might be like non sequiturs. Like a lot of them are non sequiturs. He just kind of rambles. He just kind of says things. And while for some people that might be an invitation to like analyze it more, they'd be like, "Wow, I really got to dig in, see what he's really saying on this, like seeing what the poetry means." But for me, what makes the story so special isn't that. It's just like what he evokes with his lyrics, like the moods, the imageries. I don't really need to like think hard about it. Like
his delivery. I think one thing that we haven't really touched on yet that maybe that's going to throw people off is definitely his delivery on pretty much most of the album, where he's his very unique voice, and those first couple listens are like, I don't know, like I like the instrumentation, but like his voice is like it's got this like kind of nasally tone to it.
Yeah,
it's
for
like,
sure.
I don't know.
And it's also his delivery on this album is actually very different from delivery on his other albums, so I'm going to get to that a little bit more later. But so I know this is like a slow build-up for like essentially saying that what I love about him is that his lyrics are so oblique. They're so oblique, and like even if you want to try and analyze them, it's really, really hard to. So that means you can just kind of let go, and you can just say, you can just tell things at you, like, bring out your dead, bring out your, I don't remember.
Dark.
Bring out your dark birds in flight. Bring out your red roses too. Hey, what's got into Sunny? So clearly Sunny's the guy saying those things. But you don't really like it's just evocative. You just feel like you just kind of like you don't really need to think about it, and it's just like wow, like that's beautiful, and this flows, and it's just like creates things in my head. It makes you feel things. That's one thing that I really appreciate about Joyer and his lyrics. And so my favorite lyrics, I think my favorite ones are the ones like bombs go off in your eyes. I'm so much deeper than the damage on Sun and Sky. That is 100% one of my favorite lines of the year too. It's just like what does that mean? Like I think it might be about sex, but it might not be. You don't know. Like bombs go off in your eyes, like it could be fireworks. I don't know, it could be anything, but it's just a really evocative and like powerful image, you know? And it just makes me feel things. It makes me feel things. Of course, Times Square is just one of the it's gorgeous. Like the fucking Jesus is beside himself. Jacob's in a state of decimation. Writing on the wall. Wasn't writing at all. Anyways, just brilliant lyricist. I think those are my favorite ones. But the beef, the juice of this, because most of that was just like me kind of saying things incoherent. This is where I actually have like legitimate things to say. You guys aren't really familiar with the rest of his records, right?
Yes,
like,
this is the only thing I've listened to him so far.
Does anybody listen to anything that's not Poison Season?
I've listened to Kaput and the Bay of Pigs EP, but like not enough to really comment on them.
Okay. So this album, going into it, really excited, of course, but it's actually one of my first impressions, like when I heard this album, was like, this is different. Like this album is very different from his other things. And that's like, and it was really hard to put my finger on what exactly was different about it. Because, I mean, obviously his instrumentation changes up every time. Like Your Blues, for example, relies heavily on like atmospheric synths and like weird effects. And it's mostly just him. And then the next album he made, Rubies, is like, it's like a rock. He's got like a rock band behind him. And they're making some kind of like folky Americana Dylan-ish stuff. Like that's kind of vibe. It's like this full rock band, and then Kaput, and Trouble in Dreams is like it's more piano-y. Kaput is like soft rock meets like smooth jazz, like the two forbidden genres of the 80s, which is like, where did this come from? And then you get Poison Season. Poison Season is just full of horns and like all these crazy things, and it's like, okay. Like, he changed it up. I knew he was going to change it up. He always... And so that didn't really shock me. That wasn't what, like, made me realize this was different. But what really made me realize it was different was his use, like, his lyrics. And I'm not saying, like, his lyrics, like, what he writes is different, because he always kind of writes crazy things. It's always wild things. There are wild things in here. But what really makes this record different is how he approaches those lyrics. For example, on Rubies, he just rambles. He just goes on. He just like says all these. He just says in a row. He alludes to other songs. He has recurring motifs. He just says things. And it just sounds like he's sitting there in his chair, just talking at you, like I am now, just saying things, just saying words that are popping to his head, and he just strings them together, and he just kind of rambles, and it's all free and loose. But on Poison Season, what I think is really, really fascinating about it is how deliberate everything sounds. And everything sounds very deliberate. There's some songs have very few like lines in them. Like Dream Lover has not that many. Like he doesn't say there's not a lot of lyrics in Dream Lover. Like it seems like there are, but there's really not. And I think a lot of that is just he's been very, very deliberate on his delivery. Like his deliveries, they feel like he's like really a frontman. He's like getting into the mic and just being like, "Dream Lover, I know," instead of just like leaning back in his chair, being like, "You terrify the land, you are pestle and mortar." Anyways, so he's really very, very deliberate, and the lyrics are short and to the point, and he doesn't. You can tell that like he cut out stuff. He shortened things to make it very deliberate, make the deliveries very, very just precise. It's a very precise album, and it's really, really. It was like very much a departure. It's hard to put your finger on it first, but once you really pick up on that, it's like a very, very radically different album from what else he makes, and it's like a subtle change, but it's definitely a big one. However, it is not one I do not like. I really do like the change he made on it, and so that's like a big thing. I totally forgot where I was gonna go after this. Fuck.
I can't. I mean, again, none of us can really speak on his
right.
previous
So anyway,
stuff.
no, I don't remember. So I think that's the biggest change between this record and his other records, which leads you to think like, what does this mean for his discography? And it's also like, it also makes this album as like a first Destroyer album for you guys. Like this is kind of different, you know. You talked about his voice and you talked about his delivery, and his voice is definitely much. I think if you listen to Kaput, or you listen to Ruby's, like his voice is. It's like weird at first, but you definitely get the payment much faster. But what's really wild about this one is just how few things he says in comparison to the rest of his albums. And I think that's like it's really interesting, you know? And it does make his voice a little bit harder to swallow. It does make the instrumentation and the orchestration of it and the theatrical elements of it definitely much, much, much more pronounced. And I think it definitely feels much more like a rock album, like, if you will. And I think it's pretty cool. So which leads me to the next question. What do you guys think about his style? Like, what do you think about, obviously you guys haven't heard his other stuff, so you can't really, like, chime in on his style in his other albums, but like his style in this one, which is like, I guess, deliberate, kind of terse poetry. It's still wordy as he always is, but like he doesn't ramble. It's all very to the point. And with all the horns and it's very dry, crisp production, just like boom, like in your face. Like, what do you guys think about that?
Okay, I'll start off. Right away, the instrumentation just grabbed me. Like, right away, I was like, I'm in love with this. It's like it's kind of like jazzy influence. It's like, okay, right away, like, I am digging this production, like, right away. The voice, again, took a couple listens to get used to. It's very nasally. Throw me a lyric, Jeremiah. I'll try to sing it as Destroyer. Dream lover, I know.
There you go. You got it.
Is that a good Destroyer impersonation?
That is a good.
Is this just the part of the podcast where we all do Destroyer impressions?
Possibly. I don't know.
Dream lover, I know.
That was maybe a little too high pitched. It's gotta be like it still have to be. It's not. I remember Jeremiah. He was singing it. He hit like a high note. I'm like, he doesn't hit any high notes whatsoever on this album. It's all very nasally, all sort of, you know, lower notes, more kind of maybe not baritone, but like I think Jeremiah's saying this is very like you know, he's sitting down and he's like talking to you. It's maybe like something maybe like Universal Themes, except where that's more spoken word. This is kind of like more very like in the middle of like rock spoken word and singing.
Rock poetry.
Vocals still got used to, but once I got used to it, it was like, okay, I enjoy this, but there's some tracks where it's still like, okay, you know what, I can't, with these vocals, I still can't do it. Like, I think that was my main problem with stuff like Hell and Girls, like, okay, these vocals, I can't do it, not with these songs. I can get it with the other songs, because I can look past it a little bit more with the great production and instrumentation, and, these are the orchestral and jazz influences and whatnot, but it's like, okay, these tracks, it sounds like a really bad, corny musical that would go on in, like, my middle school or something. Maybe not that bad, but it was just like, okay, I can't do this. I do like the style though. Like, I really like the style. It's kind of like a musical and like, you know, very like a theatrical, like a play or something. It was like, okay, this is an interesting approach. I think this style could work really well if it was more conceptual or more sort of like it fit a narrative, because the sound, as far as I can tell, doesn't really have a narrative. It just kind of has this like really theatrical style. I'm like, okay, I really like this style, but I would kind of like someone else to kind of take up on this style and make it more like a narrative, I guess. Because it's really interesting.
That is a point that's a good point to bring up. There's also another thing that this album that makes this album pretty different from his other records, is that there almost like is kind of a narrative, just because of the way the album is bookended by Times Square.
Yeah. And
also has Times Square in the middle. So it does put the structure on this album is definitely very deliberate and
like,
very
it wants
thought out.
Like, it wants to be more of a conceptual album, but like it doesn't take that big leap that I'm like,
okay, which
I
appreciate. I'm glad it does that, because it's very interesting. It's a very interesting look at that. And in interviews leading up to it, he was talking about how much he hates like pop music and how
Boo! Shuts
How he
up the
doesn't
pop
like.
heads, by the
Oh,
way.
he's total curmudgeon, and it's pretty like absurd. Like in his
See,
interviews,
if
he's
Dan
like, "Oh,
came,
yeah,
came
Taylor
into
Swift
r
sucks."
slash pop heads, I would probably ban him.
Probably.
With that
He's
shit.
just like, and he's like talks about how he doesn't really like classic rock, which my mom was pointing out. She read like an article on him in New York Times. He's like, "Oh, he's a curmudgeon." And it's like he says he didn't like Bruce Springsteen or something. That was brought up, and then I played her Dream Lover, and she's like, "What?"
Honestly, like, how's he hate classic rock? This album is very, like, I'd say there's a lot of influences from, there's some classic rock influences, there's
Yeah.
jazz
Oh,
influences.
that's definitely there, which is what makes his interviews so ironic. And I'm wondering if that was deliberate or not, or if he's just a curmudgeon. I don't know. But this album definitely does have a structure. Like it almost feels like the other ones. They feel very free flowing, as I said. But this one is very. It's got a very defined structure because of the way Times Square is. So when one Times Square ends, you can loop into the other one, or you can just be like, "This is where the album ends now." Like this is it's very constrained, or not constrained, I guess I should say, but it feels very. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the opposite of wide open. Not in a bad way.
Restrained
but-
or, like, tightened?
Yeah,
Like
tightened.
measured?
It's very tight. It's a very tight album, which is an interesting departure from like the more all over the place natures of his other ones. I mean, obviously, like, the musically still all over the place, but I mean, like, because of the nature of because the structure is not all over the place, and the lyrics aren't all over the place, and it's interesting. I don't know.
Okay, I guess that's all I have to really say. Stefan and AJ, which one do you guys want to talk about his style?
Is
I'll-
AJ still here?
I'm still
Yeah,
here.
you go.
I've been listening. Well, one thing that struck me here is like this being my first Destroyer project. When people were like saying, "Oh, this is an album you should definitely check out," like I looked into it, and a big disclaimer was all this conversation about his voice. People were like, "Dan Behar's voice comes off really strange to me. Dan Behar's got such like a unique voice," and then comments like, "I can't really dig his voice. His voice really threw me off on this album." And then so I go into this album thinking I'm about to hear something like. I don't know why, Death Heaven, Death Grip, something like that. I was expecting something super aggressive. And then the first track on this album, that Times Square one, I was just like, oh, this is beautiful. This is really nice.
I should say that the name, by the way, the name is Destroyer, and like the album cover, it's kind of jarring. Like, is this gonna be like metal or kind of heavy? But no, it's like a fucking musical, and it's like, what the fuck?
I love when my expectations are completely blown away based on like an album cover or like I'm going into something completely wrong, and this was one case. I expected something much heavier, and I was just like, oh, this is lovely. This is lovely.
Awkward
That's all-
silence, please.
That's all I had to say.
Stefan. Hold on. Okay,
Cool.
before I feel like I'm pronouncing your name wrong.
Is
it right? Am I saying it right?
No,
It's
it's
Stefan.
Stefan.
Oh, Stefan. Sorry. I feel after Rennie, I was like, okay, I'm really bad.
Well,
at
that was
this.
just a debacle. But yeah, I mean, the style, I don't really have much to say. I kind of knew what I was getting into, and it did exactly what I thought it would for me, which was just like an immediate yes, I love this. I had no problems, and even I'm surprised you guys had complaints about his voice, because instantly I was just like, oh, this is a really unique, interesting voice he has. And I don't know if I'm crazy in that I think he kind of sounds like Bob Dylan in parts of this album.
Mm-hmm.
But he has like that rambly whisperiness to him that I personally really love. Just to touch on a couple of the other points you guys are talking about, with like the sense of narrative in the album, I agree that there isn't one, and it's definitely not a concept album, but I do feel like there's a definite sense of progression and flow, so that when you get to the third Times Square, like, you've definitely gained some new piece of information, like, about Dan Behar from listening to this. And it does kind of have, like, a climax at the end with Bangkok and Sun in the Sky. There's, like, a definite sense of, like, departure, tension, and then resolution throughout the album. And so it definitely keeps it cohesive without necessarily making it a strict, like, concept. And with the lyrics on this album, I really do feel like they're more poems than lyrics, just because they're, like Jeremiah said, they're not focused on the meaning or anything. It's just the economy of the words and string them together and creating these like very strong images. And I feel like that really stands out on the album. And it makes me think of almost like, I've always said that like In the Aeroplane Over the Sea would be almost stronger as just a collection of poems than an album. This is kind of the same here. If you were just to read this album, you would feel like a very similar level of impact that you would listening to it, I think. Obviously not, because the music adds a lot, but just to make that point that the lyrics really are, yeah, they do act differently than normal lyrics, I think, and he really is focusing on the structure of his wording, which I think is a really interesting element. And also to touch on the instrumentation, I did not think in a year where we have the Epic coming out that like the award for best sounding horn section would go to a Destroyer album. Oh, the horns on this album
Oh my
in particular
fucking
just
God.
sound so good. They're
Yeah, the
so
production on this
good.
album is excellent.
Yeah, it really. Oh man. Yeah.
You can definitely tell he
that-
took his sweet, sweet time on this one.
Let's see. Is he
Because,
arranging?
I mean,
all
it
this,
is,
is he
like-
arranging all this stuff or?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But you can definitely tell where the time, because like as I said, like the poetry is very, very, very selective. He made sure he very deliberate on the poetry, and just the horns. It's just the band sounds so full and like in time with him. Like it sounds like the band is right behind him. Everything he does is just he's like, guys, do this, and they're like, fuck yeah, and there is like, and it's just like you can just feel like it just seems like they're on like a car, like and like Dan Bayer is like on the hood of the car, and they're like driving with their instruments, and he's like, Dream Never Unknown. Like they're just so in tune. He's just so in tune with his band, and the band is just so like tight. They're just the turnarounds are excellent. They just nail every note. It's just hard to. It's just like so crisp and like clean, and it's like there's some albums where the jazzy stuff where it's messy, and that's like the way they did it, and that's cool. This album is 100% not messy in the slightest. It is fucking. It's like the puzzle pieces fit.
It's as clean as a good Christian boy.
Praise him. It's.
Oh my god, I'm laughing at my own fucking jokes. I'm such a fucking loser.
Great. Oh, it's a great album.
But yes, the instrumentation is great. It's very clean. It's very like, it's not like art jazz where it's just like it's like, okay, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, but and like there are times when it kind of like goes into that where it kind of like feel like Midnight Meets the Rain, where it sounds very hectic, and then you listen closer and you realize that everybody's just playing the right thing at the right time. And so Midnight Meets the Rain, where there's just a whole lot going on, it sounds very in sync. It's all just boom right there. Some nice consonant harmonies.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It sounds like a musical.
There's some dissonant harmonies in there too, though. Don't get me twisted. And the timbre is very brassy. It's very like sharp, but it just, just the band is out of this world on this album. And Dan Behar really just slides in as the role as like a front man. He really sounds like a front man on this one, which is different from his other records. And it's like, just boom, just like just a great rock album is really what this is. And then there are moments when there's always like, when there's like tight, when you have an album that's full of tight like compositions, everything is tight, like everything is like a very like well-oiled machine. There's always that moment, or there should always be that moment when the machine breaks down. And so you see this on albums like Ariel Pink's Before Today, the hook of Round and Round.
Redacted on the Moon, Big Dipper. I think that's probably my favorite example
Crooked
of that,
Rain,
where the machine literally, it sounds like it's literally breaking down.
Yeah, Crooked Rain with Fillmore Jive, like where the instrumentation just kind of just, everybody's just like, you know what, fuck it, and just something crazy happens. For me, on this album, that's Bangkok. Bangkok is that song. Because it's right after, because right when the horns just start coming in, it just sounds like everybody's just like, fuck it, I'm going to play the melody that I wanted to play. Fuck you, Dan Behar. And they're just like, and they just go all out, and just everything is loose, everything is just running free. And so, which is just stark contrast to the rest of the album. It's one of the reasons why Bangkok is actually such an impactful song, is just that freedom and just that looseness, and just like, it really blows it wide open. And it's just which is definitely a cool thing to toy around with. One thing I do appreciate about the structure of this record.
Yeah, I think we
kind of covered it. I'm going to say where it stands in relation to other albums this year. This is definitely one of my absolute favorites of the year. No doubt about it. I don't listen to it like there's some albums that like they're my favorites of the year because I listen to them on repeat when they come out. Like I Love You Honey Bear, I listened to that on repeat when it came out. But this one I've actually definitely been taking it slow. But every listen, it's gonna be a great fall record. I can already tell you that now. Like just walking around when the leaves are crisp and like the weather is crisp, and the horns are crisp. Like that's when this album's gonna really shine. But it's just so
Wait,
so
Jeremiah,
so.
you didn't give it a rating, man.
I didn't give it a rating. Oh, I give it Dan Behar on the album cover, looking gloomy and like a curmudgeon at you, like that head, but like on a billboard in Times Square.
I give it fuck it. I'm just gonna give it a fucking score. I don't fucking care. It gets a fucking 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it. Some songs I didn't like, but overall, I enjoyed listening.
I definitely
to
think
it.
this is gonna be a grower though.
Even
though I've only listened to it
be
like
a grower. Depends on how much I listen to it. Because again, like I said,
this-
this week has been fucking crazy for Oasis, and I have to catch up on
Oh, yeah.
everything.
But this is definitely an album that I'm gonna be revisiting a lot. I think this is just good. I was kind of all over the place, but just like Dan Behar is, it was intentional. It's just a really fucking great record. Just another solid Destroyer record in his long line of great fucking records. And there's not many other ways to. It's theatrical, it's vibrant, it's full of life, and it is genius.
Jeremiah, that'd be a great outro, but AJ and Stefan still haven't spoken on their scores yet.
I give it a 8.5 Poison Seasons out of 10 Poison Seasons.
Stefan?
Good.
I give it like a light 9 out of 10 or 4.5 Archers on the Beach.
Nice. Of course, and my final statement about this album is that you got Slime Season for the plebeians and Poison Season for the patricians.
For the
Oh
patricians.
yeah.
Again, hope you guys enjoy listening to this first, I guess, edition of the Indieheads podcast. It's episode 30. We're still calling it episode 38, but this is the first episode of the Rebrand. Hope you guys enjoyed listening.
Listen to the album.
Listen to Poison Season.
Tell us
Next
what
week
you
we're going to be
think.
talking about the new Church's album.
Oh no, are we?
Yes, we are.
Oh no.
Hey, when does new music come out?
All right, bye guys.
See ya.